Hi, my name is Connor McCracken, and welcome back to Occupy Wall Street Explained. In this video, I attempt to explain the demands of the Occupy Wall Street movement. On November 22, 2011, many active members of Occupy Wall Street, including documentary filmmaker Michael Moore, held a convention to establish the demands of the protests. This was a pivotal moment for the Occupy Wall Street because there had been widespread uncertainty as to what the movement actually wanted to accomplish. During the meeting, the occupiers came up with a list of 10 demands. 1. Get rid of the Bush tax cuts for the wealthiest Americans and institute a new tax on Wall Street firms. The Occupy movement doesn't believe that giving rich people tax cuts will help poor Americans or encourage economic growth. They believe that the tax burden should rest more heavily on Wall Street firms because they're seeing record profits while the income gap between poorest and richest Americans widens. The movement wants to see a tax placed on any company that outsources American jobs. Many American jobs have been lost due to outsourcing in recent years, which the Occupy Wall Street movement views as detrimental to the economy and inherently greed-driven. 3. Occupiers want to see the wealthiest Americans pay the same percentage of their income to Social Security as the average American. Currently, there's a cap on the amount a person has to pay to Social Security. Occupiers want to eliminate the cap and have everyone pay the same percent. 4. The reinstitution of the Glass-Steagall Act, which used to regulate Wall Street before Congress repealed the law in 1999. This is part of the movement's effort to curb Wall Street's control over the economy and politics, which they feel is the primary cause for the recession. 5. Investigate the financial crisis of 2008 and prosecute criminal activity. A major theme of the movement is justice. They believe the major financial institutions have barely felt the effects of the economic meltdown, even though they were the primary cause. 6. Change the nation's spending priorities. The Occupy movement is officially against the war in Afghanistan and what they believe is excessive military spending. They would rather see that money spent on improving our nation's infrastructure, improving our education system, and increasing the money we spend on scientific research. 7. Creation of a universal healthcare system. Another theme of the Occupy movement is expansion of personal rights. Their belief is that all Americans should have access to healthcare, and the best way to accomplish this is to make it free, regardless of pre-existing conditions. 8. Reduce carbon emissions by raising emission standards and finding a suitable substitute for oil. The idea behind this demand is that there needs to be a world left for all of these changes to exist in. 9. Any company with more than 10,000 employees must have half of its board of directors be directly elected by the workforce. That way, workers in large corporations can have a say in the company they work for, instead of corporations dictating what rights their workers have. And last but not least, 10. Their last demand is for 3 new amendments to the Constitution. The first amendment would be about campaign finance reform. Under this amendment, A, any U.S. citizen would be registered to vote. B, election day would be held on a weekend to increase voter turnout. C, campaigns would no longer be able to accept campaign donations. And D, paper ballots would be reinstituted to discourage voter fraud. All of these changes are meant to separate money and greed from the political process and encourage more participation in politics. The second amendment would be a declaration that corporations are not people, and that the general welfare of society must always be put ahead of corporate welfare. This amendment would prevent lawmakers from choosing corporations over people by making it unconstitutional for them to do so. The last amendment would be a second Bill of Rights that would protect all Americans' right to health care, a full education, clean air, clean water, safe food, and respect in their old age. The Occupy movement wants to make social services equal for everyone because they believe that all Americans should have an equal opportunity to seek the American dream. So far, none of these demands have been signed into law, but some have gained significant support. Ending the tax cuts for the wealthiest Americans has been a hot topic in political debates for years now, and according to polling, has the support of a large majority of Americans. President Obama signed into law the Affordable Health Care Act of 2010 that brings us closer to a universal health care system. Many, including outspoken Congressman Bernie Sanders, have attempted to change the rules on Wall Street, and the Iraq War has ended, leaving us with only one war to deal with. All of these are steps toward the Occupy agenda, which goes to show that the Occupy movement has wide popular support for many of its demands. Thanks for listening. If you would like to know more, I implore you to watch my other videos or check out the OccupyMovement.webs.com.